What's up YouTube? Today I'm gonna go a bit more into detail on how I built my wooden squat rack. I posted a video about this rack 4 months ago, and lately it's been getting quite a few good comments. It seems like a lot of people is building their own squat racks during the lockdown because of the coronavirus. At that time I didn't really mention all the dimensioning and what it will last and so on. So that's what I'm gonna do today, and I will put some weight on it to see how much it will hold, and probably give you a few tips on how to build it as well. I'm gonna mention all the measurements in centimeters. I know a lot of you are from the States and you use the imperial system, so 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So whatever I say, you just divide it with 2.54. All the wood that I made for the rack itself is 9.5 by 4.5 centimeters. So that is what the American guys would usually call a 2x4. Let's get started then. Okay, so the first thing that was really important for me was that the rack would have a very small footprint, since this room is only 8 square meters or around 86 square feet. So the most important thing that I had in mind was that I needed to be able to have the plates and mount them. So the most important dimension would be, in this case, half the diameter of plates, and then some extra space for my hands to unload and load the plates. And measure it. So this one is 40 centimeters, around 15 or 16 inches. You could probably go around with around 30 centimeters. Olympic plates are usually 45 centimeters in the outer diameter, so 22.5 as a minimum, then some extra space for your fingers. But I think 40 centimeters was really great for me. One other thing to note is the pull-up bar. If I do pull-ups with I usually do that facing the wall. So when I'm coming down from the pull-up bar, I'm glad it's not less than 40 centimeters. Then I would hit the wall. I do strict pull-ups. I don't do kipping pull-ups. If you do kipping pull-ups, you're probably gonna need more space than 40 centimeters. Back to this one. 40 centimeters, and then I made a cut so that it would get all the way into the wall. Okay, so the vertical legs, let's measure them. I don't know if you can see it, but they are 230 centimeters. Here I would recommend that you go as tall as you can, unless you have like a 5-meter high building. But this room is only, it's just 235 in the height, and most normal buildings nowadays are at least 240 here in Europe. Personally, I wouldn't mind a few extra centimeters, like 10 or 20 centimeters more for especially the pull-up bar. So back to the bottom again. So these legs are connected with a bottom piece. So if these are around 4.5 each leg, then, and this one is 40, then this one is 31 centimeters. No, it says 32. So, and then a gusset. I always put gussets on, and I did that in both the bottom and the top. Speaking of the top, as you can see, I put an extra piece of wood here because of the wall flanks for the pull-up bar. It takes up more space than the width of the outer leg. If you're making these with a 100 by 100 leg or beam or a 4x4, then you wouldn't need that extra piece, of course. And the top is made the same way as the bottom but of course there's not a cut for it. It already really goes all into the wall. So a bit on the width of it. It's easier to measure from. Now I'm measuring from the outside to the outside, and that is 116 centimeters. So with 116 centimeters from the outside to the outside, that's around 98 centimeters on the inside. It works for me, but I think most people would consider it a bit too narrow for bench pressing. I don't know about the standard sizes for benches and power racks. I just made it how I felt like. But maybe you should go around 105 centimeters on the inside. But test that out with your own bench pressing and your placement of your hands. It could also be an issue if you do wide grip back squatting. And of course, don't make the rack itself so wide that it's not possible to have your barbell on the holders. So the pull-up bar. Okay, so the pull-up bar is around 210 centimeters from the floor. Pull-up bar 210 centimeters from the floor. Again, I'm a bit restricted on the height. I would like 10 to 15, maybe 20 centimeters more, but it works okay for me. If you're a tall guy or a tall person, you'll definitely need to get it a lot higher. And the pull-up bar is made by 3/4 inch steel piping. It was galvanized, but then I just painted black. It works, but I do see a little bit of bending when I hang from it. I can see that on videos. It's not a problem, and I've done weighted pull-ups on it. But I think a 1-inch piping would be a better choice, and a 3/4 inch pipe is for me maybe a little too small for my grip. So maybe I'll upgrade it to a 1-inch. But I would recommend, if you go build one like this, go for a 1-inch piping. The bar holders is made of piping, and that's also 3/4 inch. 2 pipes, and they are threaded on each end, a T and a bend. And then a thing that I didn't have in my first video is an end cap. And this end cap just prevents it from falling out. It never happened for me, but just to be sure not having it falling out, I put it in. And it just goes on here. Yes, it takes a few seconds to unmount those bar holders because of that threaded end cap. But again, that works for me, and it's a homemade squat rack, so it's not like J-hooks and stuff like that. Then it starts to get complicated and hard to make yourself, especially from wood. Let's take that out. As you can see, I have not fully tightened the threading, and it's not an issue as long as you put it in between into those 2 holes in the rack. If I was tightening it all the way, that's more or less like this. As you can see, that would be impossible to get inside your rack. So, this position. And another thing, since it's with threads are never accurate. So these 2 bar holders are not identical. Just keep that in mind. So if you make it this way, make sure to measure the hold position for each bar holder. So this one will, for my case, always be on the left side, and this bar holder will always be on the right side. It's only a matter of a very little, like a few millimeters, but if I made the same hold position in each, then one of them wouldn't fit in. Okay, so the way I made the holes, I made a tool out of scrap wood, the same kind of wood that that's being used on the rack, and then I just mounted some wood plates on the side, and then I pre-drilled some pilot holes for that would match the center distance on my bar holders. So that would be like that, and the other one would be, in this case, down here, because as I said, they are never the same size, never the same distance between. So I started by making, that was actually the first one, as you can see with this line. Then I put my tool right over the line with this center piece, and then I would pre-drill holes all the way up, just move it, and then until I've come to my last holes. And after I pre-drilled all those holes in the leg, I took a 28 millimeter spade drill. See if you can see that. 28 millimeters is just a little larger than 3/4 inch piping. I think 3/4 inch is around 26 millimeters, 26 point something. So with all the pilot holes, I just drilled it with a spade drill. The rack is mounted to the wall with some very long screws. This is around, this is a 12 centimeter screw. I got 6 screws on each side of the rack that goes into the wall with a plug. My wall is a brick wall. If you have a concrete wall, I would recommend getting expansion bolts. You can use these, but expansion bolts just adds a lot more strength. They are spaced with 30 centimeters apart. And the rating on this screw, according to the package, is 60 kilograms, or around, I think that's around 120 or 30 pounds. But keep in mind, that doesn't take up all the weight that you have on the rack, because the rack is mounted, is put on the floor, so it's standing on the floor, pushed all the way into the wall, and then mounted in here. So if I put 200 something kilos on the rack, they are not gonna take up 200 kilos each, not even if it was just one. So I just added a lot of them to make sure that it would stay in the wall, and it definitely does. And then another thing that I did after that the first video on my squat rack was to put shelves on it. Perhaps you've seen that in many of my other videos. I did that not to strengthen the rack, but to add more storage for my very small home gym. As I said, this room is just 8 square meters, or around 84, 86 square feet. It did add some strength, I'm pretty sure about that, because before I mounted the shelves, I could slightly move the squat rack a little. If you don't plan on putting shelves on like I did, a good thing could be to make like these gussets, just put it on the side and into the wall. I would recommend that. So that's pretty much it about the way I constructed it with some measurements on it. Let's put some weight on it, see how much it will hold. This is 180 kilos. $210 kilos. So 210, this is 230 then. And it's still really, really solid. There's not really a lot of movement here. I've noticed that sometimes when I re-rack the weight with around, let's say 180 to 200 kilos, these bars tend to wobble a little, but it's never been a problem. As you can see, with 230 kilos, it's solid. Alright guys, that's it. Make sure to go watch my first video of this squat rack. I'll put it right here on the side, and if you've already seen that, go check out my playlist about home build projects. I do have a few other projects on my mind that I probably will be building anytime soon. I just need some more wood for it. So look forward to that. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. See you soon.